It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. Oh, this microphone. This Feedback Friday. Yes, Sucktober 2, Tylenol Boogaloo. Suck isn't what I actually called last October, but you can't put swears in thumbnails. So I went with Sucktober. You also have to be careful with swearing in the first minute of the video, apparently, for YouTube advertisers. So I will get to that because, oh boy. Let's do the help support this channel. Oh God, let me check. We're very, very close to goal, if not at goal, with the laptop fund. So I am looking right now. I closed it for Twitch. Here we go. Where are we? Here we go. Yeah, we are 98% of goal as I'm recording this. 98% of goal. So, if you want to be the one to push it over the top, it's so funny. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Or buy a one-time Leanna K session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. This is a good time to become a patron because Discord links come out next week. Now, my Discord is screened. You will get the link, and then you have to message me or the moderators and tell us where you came from, whether it was coffee or Discord or anything like that. This is because we are trying to cut down on, people going into the server, taking screen grabs, and sending them to people who start shit and then accuse me of ignoring the problem. So, that is why we do what we do. We do not ignore the problem. And I just don't like it when people, and the unfortunate thing about that one is it turns out it has nothing to do with me. There's another target that, if somebody's high drama, then Kiwi Farms tends to go after them, and they know they're going to spin out if they think I'm talking about them. And so they send the stuff out. And so I don't want that. I want to minimize that. And so we have, and I really don't like it when I see someone has swiped screen grabs and they put it up and somebody else's screen name is in it who had nothing to do with any of this bullshit and they're dragged into it. That's not okay. Including third parties is not okay, but I do not expect Kiwi Farms to behave ethically. They have their own moral code that I do not share. And so, we can't totally fix everything. We can minimize it. And yeah, all we can do is our best. Regarding some of the other fireworks, some of you may have seen that I have gotten a lawyer for after the karma comes for some people like Charlie Kirk with a bullet threat that I got. I went to a lawyer and I'm done with all the crap that's going on online because the various people are feeding each other, one person says something and then it goes to the dangerous person and that whips up the dangerous person. The defamation spreads. Referencing me getting shot is just over the line. And so I talked to a lawyer and then someone doxed the lawyer. Yeah. So that's the excitement for this week. And this is on Twitter, so I'm addressing it because someone may have seen it. And then, they also put up the emails of the lawyer saying posting my address is an invasion of privacy. And on that email, the lawyer's phone number was there. So that's been my week. But that's, the problem here is once it goes to lawyers, you don't talk about it, right? But people think I'm talking about them when I'm not. I use examples which are usually amalgamated. One piece from one thing, one piece from another thing. So it's never just one person. It's just to use as an example or to show, look, I'm not talking up my ass here. I get it. Especially on the Manly Monday content where it's guys. And I was always very hesitant to do men's content because I don't want to tell men their business. That's condescending and bullshit. But, I connect to it through, as best I can, because I know from my own experiences that knowing this is the best thing to do is one thing. Actually doing it is so much harder. And I can't expect guys where there's a lot of social stigma on men who express more vulnerable emotions. Anger is acceptable. Rage is acceptable. Being a bully, people don't claim to like it, but it's seen as normal male behavior. And we're not going to change that. And one thing I cannot stand about seeing videos made by women about men's stuff is that men should just do this. Men should just do better. All that stuff. It's like, first of all, that's really vague. Second of all, that's not empathizing with how hard this stuff is, how hard those first humbling steps are. And the response to the rejection video was really gratifying because, people like, I'm glad people got the Tylenol joke. And somebody else mentioned that chocolate is another thing that helps when you're like feeling bad. And I want to be clear, because that was a really good bit of feedback. Dark chocolate is best because of certain specific chemicals that are more concentrated. Milk chocolate is very yummy, but if you actually want that biochemical benefit, dark chocolate is best. It takes a bit of getting used to. The really dark stuff, I was taught how to properly eat really dark chocolate in a farm outside of Montreal. No. Halfway between Montreal and Quebec City, I think. Anyway, it was really dark chocolate, and they passed it around with coffee. And it was this little thing. Yeah, I'm allergic to weed, so we don't share joints. We pass around dark chocolate. Yeah, man, the hard stuff. It's this little bit, and you dissolve it on your tongue, and then you sip the coffee, and it is the best shit in the world. It is so good. So yeah, there actually are chemicals in dark chocolate. The other good thing about dark chocolate is you don't end up eating the whole bar. It's so intense, you'll feel sick before you eat the whole dark chocolate bar. So it's better for you as well. But yeah, chocolate is proven to give, it breaks down in the body into the happy brain chemicals. So yeah, it can help. Don't eat too much. So that was really good feedback. And see, that's the thing when you come at it from an environment of empathy, of guys, I get it. It's one thing to say, I'm not looking down on you. I understand. Anybody can say that. That's bullshit. The biggest sociopath on the planet could say, I understand. It's another thing to demonstrate an understanding. And if you don't have the same experiences as someone, detailing your experiences that inform your um your position can really help, because somebody might not see things the same way as you, but understand where you're coming from. Like a person on Wednesday's comments said that their experiences in gifted were very, very different. And you know what? Freaking valid, man. You know, I'm glad when people had better experiences. And it wasn't, I can't say that gifted was awful across the board. Part of it was how I was parachuted in, because I didn't just go into gifted in grade 3. I was tested in grade 1 and skipped grade 2. And so I don't know what they found. Like I always imagined, like, because it wasn't like the normal experience people have. Normally in grade 2, all the kids write the test and whatever will be, will be. I remember going down, I got called to the principal's office. And so everybody thought I was in trouble. You're like, ooh, Keener kid got in trouble, right? And so I went and there was this lady, and she started giving me puzzles. And it's like, solve the puzzle. And I'm like, greatest thing ever, right? What they were doing is giving a 6-year-old the gifted test for grade 3, right? And apparently I scored highly enough that they advised it was in my best interest to skip a grade and go into gifted. And I'm not sure about that in retrospect. Now, this is not bragging. This is why I do not believe in things like IQ tests. But it's called accelerated. And I don't even know if they do it anymore. But I was in grade 3. I didn't have a grade 2 education. And so I didn't know how to multiply or divide. And they drilled us. And did I get any additional help? Nope. It was gifted. Suffer and drown, fucker. That's the way it rolled back then. And so my father, charming man he was, decided no kid of mine's going to be an embarrassment to me. Yes, that's something of a marker of narcissism. But, which is why it's so offensive when people call me a narcissist, because I was fucking raised by one. And narcissistic abuse is not fun. I was an extension of him. I was going to be his show pony. And so he would do mathematics flashcards with me and punish me if I got it wrong. And of course, then I'd start crying because I was frightened and be told, I'll give you something to cry about. And what the something to cry about was if I, couldn't just stop, it was physical abuse. So yeah, home was shit too. And I'm aware growing up hard, I do have hard edges. That gets mischaracterized by a lot of people who want to think the worst of me, but it's not, it's not, I try my absolute best to be, nice and feminine, but I wasn't raised that way. And I mean, not only did I have those experiences, but I grew up at Jane and Finch, which is a rather notorious neighborhood of Toronto, and sometimes the hood comes out. And that's really made me aware of different experiences. And a lot of the time there's no right, there's no wrong, there's just different. And if we can avoid the communication breakdowns that come from different and not wrong, then we can avoid the conflicts we can avoid. Sometimes some things are just wrong, though. And enabling those is wrong. Enabling a wrong is wrong. Enabling somebody to continue to hurt themselves is wrong. And some of this stuff is more art than science. Trained therapists get it wrong all the time. And as I say on my show, I am not a therapist. And all we can do is just try to do better, right? Now, I mean, that being said, I do believe very strongly in freedom of speech. And it involving lawyers was difficult for me. It goes against my instincts. And again, it was because it hit a point where threats, defamation is not protected speech. It's not. It's a tort. It's not criminal, but it's not protected speech. It's not free speech, but my bar for what I consider over the line defamation is when someone is, naming groups I'm involved with, deliberately twisting things to damage, the business I have built and am building. People have the right to criticize me. People have the right to insult me. I come down very hard when people insult guests that come on my channel, because I am built for this. I am used to this. I've been in the media. Well, I've been in the media in some form since I was 9, but yeah, I had an interesting childhood. It wasn't normal. I don't know why anybody expects me to be normal. I did not have a normal upbringing. But, I was competitive at the age of 12. I was going to turn pro, and then my appendix blew up. That went that. So I got into comedy, did TV, and, it went from there. And with television, people have the right to hate what you do. They have the right to hate your public image. And I say that very carefully because, when I was on TV, my YouTube channel's Leanna K. I picked that for a stage name. Well, somebody suggested it, and I am not good at coming up with alternative names for myself. When you have a name as weird as mine, the idea of being called anything else is like, what's the point? My name's already fucked up. But so other people give me nicknames, and that's cool. But Leanna K, when somebody suggested it, because my maiden name was Kitchen. I hate maiden name. Maiden. I was never a maiden. I didn't go around with like a kerchief and, fair maiden. No, but my born name was Kitchen. My married name is Kersner. And probably normally, if my name wasn't a room in the house, I probably wouldn't have changed it. But, first of all, the idea of a name with Zed in it, cool. But also just all through school, I got called Leanna Bathroom. So those of you with names easily made fun of can relate. But it was like, okay, it's the same. But also, because it was a bit of a shout out, where I came from thing. Just selfishly, I wanted to dump my father's surname too. But, hey. But also, one of my favorite books of all time is The Trial by Franz Kafka. And the experience of being in the media, especially on a show that was a free speech test, the late night show I did, Ed and Red's Night Party, I had to accept that at any point some shadowy overseer was going to determine I was guilty of something. They weren't necessarily going to tell me what. And of course, the main character in the trial was named Joseph K. Leanna K. Yeah, even stage name nerdy. That's me. That's the way I roll, man. But, I mean, that is the reality of media. And yes, I know in the entertainment industry, people sue each other all the time. I never liked that element of the business. But sometimes you have to. I say this because, I got labeled a dumb slut who was a gender traitor because I was part of something that pushed the bounds of free speech. I don't believe that I don't believe that the mere presence of a naked body harms a child. Now, I'm talking like just like the biology textbooks and things like that. Children should not be exposed to sexualized material too young. Absolutely, children shouldn't be exposed to it like at all. My idea of a child is like a little kid. Some people refer to a child as under 18. Here, age of consent is 16. This is the problem with these terms. I was born in the 70s. The attitudes towards nudity were so different in the 70s that there were these little drawings, like hippie drawings. And it was like a little naked chibi boy and a little naked chibi girl. And they just hang these on the wall. And they didn't care that kids were around. Like, times change, right? But when something's on at 11:35 at night, and this is before streaming, but even now, like, disclaimers. If something's on at 11:35 at night and it's for adults only, why are some things allowed and some things aren't? And broadcast standards in Canada is basically if you can do it on the street, you can do it in the media, provided it's beyond the watershed hour. So, a certain time late at night. So we're like, okay, we have topless laws in Ontario. You can be topless as a woman on the streets, so we're going to do it on TV because we're allowed. And yeah, I got labeled a dumb slut who was clearly a gender traitor. And that's hilarious since, I did gender studies at York University. I mean, I believe strongly in free speech. I very much do. I will disagree vehemently with someone's opinions. I will defend their right to say it. Now, there are certain things that do go over the line, and the laws are different in every country. But actively trying to destroy someone, take away their livelihood, hurt their business, falsely saying things that are not true, that's never been protected by free speech. Never. Harassing people has never been protected by free speech. Freedom of speech requires freedom from speech. People have the right to not be bothered. People have the right to not feel constantly watched. And I know hate watching is a thing. I mean, the Howard Stern thing, hate watchers watched for longer than, than the people who listened to him because he was a fan back in the old Howard Stern radio days before I went to Sirius. Still listen to Stern, by the way. I know he's woke now, but I do think his interviews are quite good. The John Cena interview he did a while back was fantastic. I got a whole new view of John Cena, but anyway, I digress. There's this vibe on the internet now. And yes, I'm a bit disjointed in this video because every time I'm like, oh, could this possibly sound like I'm talking about them? And so I'm like, no, don't say that. Be something more vague. And even that has been characterized as me being manipulative or attempting to deceive. It's not. For the record, I do this because I am telling my story. The people I think who have treated me unfairly have the right to their story. But it's their story. I don't name them because it's my story. I'd like them to not name me. Thanks. Because a lot of the things they're saying are provably false. And so it's not an attempt to deceive or manipulate. It's just even people I don't like, even people I don't respect, even people I think are bad people are still people. And they deserve dignity. And that means as much as I may dunk on the idea, I may have fun with it because, hey, better laugh than cry, right? And I have zero interest in a public shaming. And I can't control if people see themselves in something I've described. Again, most of the time when I set up an example, it is an amalgam of things. And I do that because, again, even people who have not been very nice to me are people. And my behavior is about me. Their behavior is about them. And it's been tough of late because it got intense at the beginning of this month because I did a small mental health event called Finding a Way. And that name was in their mouths. But see, I bailed out because that's talking about it, right? Keep it clean. So that was in a Living Color sketch. But it really intensified after the lawyer's letters went out. The last week has been nanners. Apparently I am not allowed to say crazy because that is mental health stigma. I'm pretty woke when it comes to mental health stigma stuff. Even that, like, I don't like that. That's crazy is a slang term. It doesn't mean you are literally insane. At least not my usage. But different people use words different ways, right? So I'm going to say nanners. Now, bananas. This shit is bananas. So that's nanners. But, you know, I can't control what other people read into what I do. So if I seem distracted or things are more disjointed, it's just because, you know, I'm hyper aware that lawyers are involved now. And there's certain instructions. And on top of that, I do believe in respecting an opponent. If that, we're gonna go a little Bushido right now, right? Like samurai code, goes to your eye. Why not, right? But when shit gets real, it's the philosophy of a worthy adversary. And that means behaving with respect. Not be nice, because nothing about legal proceedings is nice. But respect. And so I promise everyone that everything I have said is true to my understanding. Now, if I have been lied to, that's not on me. Yeah, you gotta vet lies, but, if somebody told me a reason for something that wasn't true and I repeated that reason because that's what I understood, I'm not the source of the defamation. Um, and, respect also means having the tough conversations. Respect means the same rules apply to everyone. It doesn't mean, well, I'm allowed to do something and you're not, you know. Um, I believe that treating people with respect means not coddling them, not um, trying to shield them from fair consequences of their actions. It means not tolerating comments, and this is something I've really changed in the last, I don't quite know how long I mean, going back to the Gamergate days, a lot of people had takes that I didn't agree with and I knew weren't true, but they have the right to their opinion. And, my attitude was, if I think they're a decent person at their core, then I'm not going to cut them off just because I got a few wonky opinions about things. But over the years, the opinions have gotten wonkier and wonkier and wonkier to the point that they are over the line and I just can't defend them. And, a lot of the stuff from Fucktober last year was people making comments that I couldn't abide. I have a pretty high bar. I said to someone the other day, I said, when somebody makes a comment that, may be rooted in a false assumption about a particular group, I will let them know, like, hey, that's rooted in a stereotype. So if somebody makes a comment about Indigenous people or Black people or whatever group, right? And I think it's just misinformed or uninformed, I'll just correct them the first time. I'll explain to them, like, that's what that's rooted in. Don't call Black people lazy unless you've got major proof, because that's a stereotype. The whole articulate thing, avoid it. It's a sensitivity and it's an understandable one. Things like that. I'll tell them once or twice, maybe. But if they keep doing it after they've been told, at that point, it's deliberate. And no, I know I would have less conflict in my life if I just took the coward's way out on those. But I just can't. And it comes back to that concept of respect. That respect means having the tough conversation because the person says they can handle it and you take them at their word. And if it turns out they can't, well, that's not on you. They said they wanted to hear it. They said they wanted people to tell them when they were going about something wrong or whether they didn't agree with them. If they thought they could handle more than they could, well, that's on them. Right? And, respect means other people's anger is valid. What people do when they're angry is not necessarily so. Sometimes people lose it and they swear and they say things they don't mean. Sometimes they say things they do mean, but it comes out in a bad way. And that happens sometimes. But I expect myself to work to do better every day. And I expect other people to work to do better every day. And I understand that these are not values that everybody shares. I am learning more and more that respect does not have a common meaning. And for a lot of people, respect means prioritize me. It means put me above you, put my needs before yours, put my wants before your needs. And that's not what respect means to me. And so, on the beginning of Fucktober 2, Tylenol Boogaloo, I like that name. If anybody's offended by it, that is just me making fun of the bullshit idea that Tylenol causes autism. Come on, man. Every time I take Tylenol now, I giggle. Like, autism. And that's not even what the report said. Like, it is just broken containment. And of course, it's not literal. It's just friggin' funny. There's an example of something that is clearly a joke, right? But I mean, the another thing that, and I say I take offense because to me, there's a difference between being offended by something and being hurt by something. Offense is my problem. Hurt, I'd like you to stop, please. Right? I do take offense when people, dump private conversations online. You guys know I don't do it. Because like chat logs and things like that, because one, they are so easily taken out of context. I have seen chat logs manipulated more times than I can count. And so I don't even believe them anymore. There's no upside to releasing that stuff. There's nothing but a downside. Because at that point, if you need to provide evidence, that's what a court's for. But dumping chat logs, if there is one thing that goes against your story, that's what people are going to seize on. It's a bad idea. If you're at the point where you have to prove your innocence, then there are going to be 50% of the people who are not going to believe you no matter what you do. And I really believe that respect means me coming out here and me saying things I know that some people are not going to like because I believe them and I think they're important. I mean, a lot of people really came down on me for the stop killing games thing. But I was honest about what I believed, and I got called stupid and a bunch of other things that have nothing to do with it. And that I thought was unnecessary. But I do those things that get a little exciting precisely because I want you guys to know that I am always coming at you straight. If I don't tell you something, it's not because I'm being cagey. It's because I can't for some reason. Either it's not my story to tell, or there's another reason that I have to err on the side of discretion. And it's, I have some clients who really enjoy having their story shared because they're like, hey, if my experience can help other people. So I talk about those. And then there are other people who do have certain conditions that, we have an agreement, absolutely not, like, off limits. And that, yeah, that's respect, right? Respecting that different people want different things. And sometimes the truth hurts. We cannot avoid hurting each other ever. Intending to hurt is different than, like, doing something in a way to inflict maximum pain is different from knowing something's gonna hurt but believing that it's better to tell the person now than to let it go on especially if the person is just humiliating themselves in public, right? If you know people are talking about them or things are not going the way, like saying like, look, this is the problem. It might hurt their feelings, but to me, it's better than them finding out, because I've been in a situation where, people didn't tell me important things. And so I had my ass hanging out, and I was so beyond crushed when I found out that people were keeping things from me, because I could have fixed it at the time, but because it was kept from me, well, misunderstandings just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I know that other people don't think that way. They think it's better to save somebody's feelings. And is there any right or wrong there? Like, their attitude is, well, we can't do anything about it, so don't tell them, it'll just upset them. I admit that part of my issue there is that people think women are fragile and emotional. And so I've seen it a lot, that it'll be, oh, don't tell your mother or don't tell your auntie or something like that. And I don't think that's right. Like, too many men shoulder too much because either their partner definitely can't handle it or they haven't tried it. They think they can't. And that's part of what leads to male loneliness, suicide, all that stuff. I don't think it's right. And coddling feels like manipulation to me when I'm on the receiving end of it. I tell a lot of people, don't handle me when they start that shit. And not everybody agrees. Some people want to be handled. Some people want their ego fed. And different strokes for different folks. I'm not necessarily saying, well, I'm saying my way works for me better. I can function in it. I can defend it. But that doesn't mean I think it's objectively better. It's just the one I can manage. Other people get by great spinning a ton of plates and, telling one person one thing and another person something else. I can't keep that shit straight. It would blow up in my face. But, I tend to err on people are misinformed as opposed to stupid. And the ignorance is just not knowing something. It's not necessarily malicious. Now, the minute, the benefit of doubt erodes to the point that, well, I told that person that that's a trauma trigger for me, and they just keep stomping on it and stomping on it and stomping on it. That's deliberate at that point, And that doesn't mean they can't do it. It's just like, well, that person's an asshole. Not talking to them anymore. But yeah, I want everybody to know that I do not take legal proceedings lightly. No matter what anybody says, I believe in free speech. But when, people are suggesting that I'm going to catch a bullet, enough is enough. Like, seriously, that's literally all this is about for me. And even certain people who didn't say it directly are feeding that obsession of the person who did it. That particular person, I believe it to be, is collecting information from the other people, and it's feeding this person's really unhealthy obsession with me. And enough is enough. So that's what's going on. I believe in disclosure. Part of the reason I'm in this situation is I believe in disclosure, and people thought that was a personal attack against them, character assassination, and it wasn't. It's just sometimes when you're a project lead, you gotta tell people what's going on. It's unfortunate. It sucks. And so it's going to be a bumpy ride. And so some days I may not feel up to doing content. Some days the content will not be necessarily up to usual standards. I'm going to do my best. But I'm only one person. I can only take so much. It's been really overwhelming. And, just letting everybody know now. And we'll find some way to celebrate Fucktober 2, Tylenol Boogaloo. Just to sort of, hey, we got a whole bunch of lemons. We'll make lemonade. We'll make a silk purse out of, I don't do pig, but I like pigs alive. But, silk purse out of a bone bottom. There we go. That's a Silk Song reference for people who don't watch Twitch. But yeah, that's what's going on. I believe in letting people know because I respect the people that don't hate watch this content, that may not agree with me, who may be frustrated by me, but come here on good faith. And I do want this to maintain an environment where if somebody is being heavily critical, I need to know that it is unlikely to be someone who is being manipulative and using it to push a personal beef. I believe in disagreeing on ideas. Attack ideas all you want. But attacking people says something about you if you go over the line more than it says about, that person. And I mean, every time I tell the story about how J.K. Rowling got me branded a pedophile, that people are like, what? And yeah, she did that over social media. And she said pedophile or pedophile, the way they say, apologist. But of course, her followers are so rabid that the apologist got dropped off. And how did that happen? Because I found the original dissertation for the guy on the board of the Mermaids charity. And the one that had been circulating in that orbit was forged. It wasn't real. And so I went to J.K. Rowling on free speech grounds and saying, hey, this isn't true. Like, you signed a statement that was pro-free speech. Why aren't you supporting the speech of people you disagree with? And it was like, I don't believe in free speech when it comes to pedophile apologia. Red wine, black mold, right? So that's how easy it is. That's how easy it is to get an angry mob down on people. There is a responsibility that comes with a platform. And, you got to use it the best you can. And we got to pick our battles. Sometimes we pick the wrong ones. But honest mistakes are not malicious. And tactical errors are not moral failings. And all we can do is our best. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot said about me. And like I said, my attempts to silence people and all that stuff. But I'm telling you right now in advance, it is not true. This has been going on in one case since 2013. At the shortest, 11, well, now a year. And so it's just, I let it run a really long time. Enough is enough. This is not free speech. This is not protected expression. In my opinion, these people are deliberately spreading shaded truths, half-truths, and outright falsehoods to deliberately harm me. And that's not protected, So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching, and ours of Feedback Friday. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.